Hello and welcome to another video. This is the pay-per-view when hell freezes over. I'm your host Chris Carnage and this is episode 3 of SWF The Aftermath. For this show we have a main event where Eric Eisen squeaked his way in for a fatal 4-way for the world title between him, Ingrid Gilmore, Remo, and Rowe. We also have Jack Bruce versus the Crippler in a grudge match after the Crippler tombstoned him on a steel chair many months ago. We have Brandon James versus Valiant after James cost Valiant for the title back in November. We have a tag team title match between the Awesomeness and the Amazing Bump Holes. We have a North American title match between Joey Morgan and Paul Huntingdon. And then we also have Monty Trescard and whoever else he can find to hire, if anybody, to take out Mikey Lau. Let's get to it. The first segment is the North American title match between Joey Morgan and Paul Huntingdon. Joey Morgan defeats Paul Huntingdon in 12:31 by pinfall with an Empire Spiral to successfully defend his title. Got an 82B. Morgan controls most of the match. Huntingdon gets the upper edge with an eye poke or something of that sort, something heelish. And he looks like he's taking control of the match when Morgan gets a comeback going and hits his finish for the win. Just a basic match to get the crowd warmed up. And then afterwards, we see Paul Huntingdon going crazy. He rolls out of the ring, starts kicking the barricade, takes the top off the announce table, kicking the steel steps. And then as Joey Morgan's heading back up the ramp to go back to the locker room, Huntingdon runs up the ramp, knocks him down, and steals his title. So exiting the pay-per-view, Morgan may have won the match, but Huntingdon illegally, you could say, has the title. Then we have our tag team title match between the Awesomeness and the Amazing Bump Holes. The Awesomeness defeat the Bump Holes in 10 minutes and 2 seconds when Stardust defeats Zimmy by pinfall after using some underhanded tactics. The Bump Holes kind of have the upper hand throughout the majority of the match. They pretty much control the Awesomeness, and just when you think they're going to win it, Huey comes in and does some shenanigans with Jefferson, and then the referee throws him out, and then when the ref comes back, they just see Randy and Zimmy both lying on the canvas, maybe some brass knuckles or something of that sort. So the Awesomeness get the win here. And then we see an angle backstage where Monty Trescard is leaving the locker room laughing maniacally to himself like he's finally found the answer to Mikey Lau. Next we have Brandon James and Valiant. Brandon James defeats Valiant in 13:38 by pinfall. James kind of beats down on Valiant. They're about the same size, but James I see being a little bit more muscular. He uses that strength advantage to his advantage. And then Valiant kind of takes control over the middle of the match, hitting some signature moves, a couple of punches, a couple of kicks, and then Chrissy Angel, that dirty bitch, interferes again, costing Valiant the match. And after the match, Hannah's finally tired of Chrissy Angel costing Valiant matches. First it was almost last week on SWF TV, Supreme TV, and now this week she cost him the match against Big Money Brandon James. So Hannah goes over after the match and slaps the piss out of Chrissy Angel, and then Valiant and Brandon James run out quickly to try to separate the two women yet again while they're mouthing off to each other. And this time Valiant and Brandon James join in and they're mouthing off at one another. So Monty Trescard found us two guys, Kurt Laramie and Big Smack Scott, the Pain Alliance. It's a handicap match, and Mikey Lau can overcome one guy, but he can't overcome two guys, especially when they're as dirty as the Pain Alliance. Big Smack Scott defeats Mikey Lau by pinfall with an ego trip at 9:51. Got a 69 C+. Mikey puts up a good fight. doing what he's usually done the last 2 weeks against Everest and Big Bear Bukowski, but eventually the numbers game becomes a little bit too much. They get the upper hand, frequent tags, and just kind of beat them down. Not a lot of spots in this, just a lot of punches and kicks and some more punches and a couple more kicks. And then after the match, Big Smack Scott debuted a new power spot that showcased his strength. Well, look at that. His psychology will be helped by it by being able to use it as a go-to spot in the future. Now that may buff his psychology up to about a 14. He's terrible in the ring. So now we see Money Trescard come out to the ring and he's shouting at Mikey Lau, "I told you you would be sorry. You should have took the money when you had the opportunity. Me and you could have done great things together." So he looks at Big Smack Scott and Kurt Laramie and he kind of gives him the go-ahead to assault Mikey Lau. More punches, more kicks. Kurt Laramie takes the chain off from around his neck, wraps it around his fist, and puts Mikey over in the corner. Big Smack Scott holds his hands down behind the ropes, and Laramie's just going to town on Mikey Lau. By the time they get done, his face is almost unrecognizable. He's bleeding profusely from cuts on his forehead and his eye. His nose might be broken. And Monty Trescard, whenever they're finally done, just stands over him and spits in his face, and then they leave finally to massive heat. Now we have Jack Bruce versus the Crippler. Jack Bruce defeats the Crippler in 1829, but not by pinfall, not by submission, when the Crippler intentionally got disqualified. Got a 76 B-, and unfortunately they don't click at all. That's unfortunate. So Crippler comes out first, and then Bruce comes out, and he just hits the ring and starts going to town on Crippler. He has all this pent-up frustration and anger, and he just wants to beat the shit out of the Crippler. So the Crippler senses this. He has a couple of points during the match where he has control and wears him down with some grappling, working on that injured neck that he caused. But in the end, Bruce is just so aggressive and so violent. The Crippler wants no more. And right when the referee's looking, just kicks him square in the nuts, and then tries to get out of the ring and escape while he still can. But unfortunately, Bruce isn't having any of that. Crippler tried to go, but he could not go fast enough. Bruce chases him down and starts beating on him some more. Crippler gives him another net shot, and this time tries to go grab a chair. He hits Bruce over the back with it, and then sets him up like he would be doing a tombstone. But then Bruce reverses it and gets him set up for a tombstone of his own. Crippler wiggles out the back of it and pushes him off the off the ramp, giving Crippler enough time to finally get away. And then here's our main event. A lot of shenanigans in this match. And about to head great heat and good wrestling, Eric Eisen defeats Gilmore, Remo, and Rogue in 22-13. Eric gets the pinfall on Angry Gilmore, following interference from Mystery Assassin 1, and also Mystery Assassin 2 runs in to attack Remo. Eisen wins the World Heavyweight title through nefarious means. Got an 82B for our main event of our first pay-per-view in this series. So this match was interesting. I went back and forth on a couple of finishes, but I think for the sake of long-term storytelling, I felt Eisen had to win this match. Gilmore, Remo, and Rogue were all kind of beat up after the last episode of Supreme TV. They all got jumped by these two mystery assassins. So when the match starts, they all three turn to take out Eric Eisen to make sure that he has no shot at all of winning the title. So for a good 5 minutes, they're just beating the shit out of him, trading off, and then they take him outside of the ring and they put him through the announcer table. So then they get back in the ring, and the original match, the triple threat, if you will, finally starts. And nobody necessarily has the upper hand. They're all evenly matched. Gilmore's a great technical guy. Remo's extremely powerful. and Rogue is just very, very slimy, very sneaky, always knows what to do in the right moments to get the job done. Towards the end of the match, Remo finally takes out Rogue, so Rogue's laying on the outside. Eric Eisen's seemingly lifeless body is still sitting through the table. Gilmore and Remo are going at it, exhausted at this point, and then the mystery assassins run in. These two guys that took them out last week take out Gilmore and Remo yet again. And wouldn't you know it, Eric Eisen at that point just slides into the ring and pins Gilmore for the victory. And that's the end of our show. The show got an 80B. So a couple of talking points coming out of this. What is Joey Morgan going to do to get back the title that Huntington stole from him? How do the Bumpholes react to losing, but not really fairly, to the Awesomeness? What's going on here between the two managers of Brandon James and Valiant? And then up here, the Pain Alliance. Will Mikey Love recruit somebody to take on the Pain Alliance, or will he go straight for Monty? And then up here, what's going to happen between Bruce and the Crippler? Is Bruce ever going to exact revenge on the Crippler for what he did to Bruce many months back? And then here, of course, the obvious talking point is, who are these two masked assassins, and what role is Eric Eisen playing in this? How will Gilmore, Remo, and Rogue react? Well, tune in next time on the next episode of Supreme TV. That's all.